one of the brilliant things about watching President Trump in situations like tonight's town hall is that he's so transparent. Take a look at this when he's talking about Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
Gretchen Whitmer, the governor in Michigan, she's saying this morning on TV, we don't have the reagents we need, we don't have the swabs we need. She's still saying that she can't get the testing that she wants.
Look, we had a phone call 5 days ago with the governors. I was on the call with Vice President Mike Pence, who's done a great job. He's the head of the committee, the task force. Every governor there, we asked it, what do you need? Not one governor needed anything. Now, all of a sudden, you see her on the Sunday. I watched it. Well, we should get this or we should get that. She ought to get back to running her state properly because she should have brought it up on a phone call.
Okay, so I love that. That is just classic Trump. And but there's a couple of parts to that, I think. First of all, he's just so direct. You don't see that from normal politicians. They just never said, oh, I'm going to tell you about the actual phone call we had. They'd give some, political answer. But the point I really wanted to get your reaction to, Sara, because it came up in another question during tonight, which was from a really strong Trump supporter who said, you're great, we love you, think you're doing a great job, but we're not sure we like all this aggressive language, either with the press or with the governors. What do you make of that, Sara, when he's just really kind of hitting back against Governor Whitmer and done it a number of times, and other governors? What do you think?
Well, I think that the people expect President Trump to be President Trump. I don't think that's going to stop them from voting for him, those who support him, in November, come November. And what makes the difference here, Steve, is the fact that President Trump isn't afraid to express how he feels. And that's pretty much what every American is feeling. So if he's talking about Governor Whitmer and she, all of a sudden is complaining and politicizing, after having a phone call with him, he's just going to say it like it is, which is actually very refreshing. I understand sometimes people can be put off by this because they're used to politicians being politicians.
Yeah.
But the reason President Trump was elected is because he connects with the American people. And we know that he's telling the truth and he's actually fighting for us because he's not afraid to say what's on his mind. And I think that makes the real difference here.
That's right, isn't it, Matt? I mean, that is one of the things that, in a way, one of the biggest changes, aside from all the policy changes, is this completely kind of reinvented the way people see their leaders.
Sure, and let's just state the obvious here. The governor of Michigan is auditioning to be the vice president of the United States. And so whether things are going well or whether they're going poorly regarding the federal coordination, she exists to be a theatrical critic of the president, regardless of the support that's being provided. And if she's having problems with testing, maybe those are her challenges in execution, not the federal government's challenges, because here in Florida, it was just on Friday that Governor DeSantis and I were setting up a mobile testing facility to build confidence where people could drive through and get very rapid results. We're working with the private sector, so in those frontline industries, people are able to know that when they go into a restaurant or maybe even a retail establishment, that they're dealing with employees who have high health standards and who are safe. And I think that allowing the states to be the laboratories of those innovations and really push forward with ways to build that confidence ultimately will restore our economy more quickly. And I'm sorry if they just haven't thawed out the answers in Michigan quite yet. We're doing pretty well in Florida.
I think that is such a deep and true point, Lisa. We get this endless, it's like it's become a mantra from the Trump critics in the media and elsewhere with testing, the disaster on testing. But it's just so untrue if you look at the scale of the escalation in terms of the production capacity there. This is, again, something the president spoke to tonight, again, with another example of how transparent he can be. This time it was a call from Camp David. Let's have a look.
We have the best testing system right now in the world. I spent the weekend at Camp David speaking to, and a prior couple of days, speaking to heads of other countries that are desperate for ventilators. And we now have so many ventilators. A month ago, that's all they were talking about was ventilators. The team of people that did this job was incredible. It was probably the biggest mobilization since World War II.
I mean, this is the point that I just think they're not giving him any credit for, which is the speed with which they've ramped it up. It's not that easy when you actually look at the details of how testing works to just sort of turn it on. And now we're by far the biggest in the world. The ventilator problem, as he said, is just basically no one even talks about it anymore. But I don't see that the president is going to get any credit from his critics for what he just described there in terms of the industrial mobilization to meet this moment. Lisa, do you agree?
Well, 100%. I mean, he never is, right? I mean, we know this in covering the media. We know this in covering the Trump administration. He never gets credit for anything. And also just the FDA clearing red tape so that you can get tests to market and that we can also look at some of these therapeutics and people using them under a compassionate use as well. And I think the conversation tonight is so important because I think in this conversation with President Trump and Martha and Brett is so important because I think for the longest time, the dominating question has been, is it safe to reopen the economy? What are the consequences of reopening the economy? We should also be asking ourselves, what are the consequences of remaining shut and remaining closed? Particularly when you look at the economic calamity piling up, when you look at the mental health aspect of this, that even, one national hotline alone has seen a 900% increase in calls. When you look around the world, and 130 million people could be pushed to the brink of starvation because of disruptions in the global supply chain to food and also because of the coronavirus. Or you look at, polling for small businesses, and 40% could potentially close their doors forever in the next 6 months. So you look at or even the health consequences of, non-essential surgeries and things not being allowed to to go forward because of the emphasis and priority to the coronavirus. So you look at all these unintended consequences of the isolation policies, of the shutdown. And as it starts to pile up, we need to be looking at the totality of the situation as we are making these decisions moving forward. And really, until recently, that hasn't happened.
Exactly right. Well, I so agree with you, Lisa. I said this on Twitter early in the week, which is that, we're really sick of hearing from all these leaders about how they're following the data on keeping the shutdowns going, when they're actually giving us zero data about the public health costs of keeping the shutdown going. All the things you just listed. We're going to be really focusing on that on next week's show as well.